to thank my executive cabinet, Vice President Frizzell, Vice President Weber, my dear Chief of Staff, Billy Garland, members of the executive staff, court, and the Senate for being here. Members of the UofL community, thank you, and of course, my fellow students, thanks to you. Too often, we as students get so caught up in our busy lives that we forget to stop and take time to view the world in which we live. Tonight, I will be talking about the state of the student body of which we are all a part. When I ran for student body president, I ran on the platform of putting student back in student government. I felt, as many candidates did, that this would be the greatest challenge, while also representing the greatest opportunity for the SGA over this past year. This is a multifaceted issue and requires multiple approaches to make sure that students were able to find themselves empowered through the work of our organization. To achieve this goal, I and my team have worked diligently on improving communication with students as well as the various offices of our university, such as athletics and the international community. We have been honored to receive praise from the athletic director, Tom Jurish, and we have been excited to know that we have managed to engage students from the international community who otherwise would not know what SGA is. In terms of reaching out to students, we have launched a series of communication initiatives, like the CardCast and the Exec Report. These initiatives have aimed at reducing the distance between students and the student government. We began by launching a first ever, one-of-a-kind video broadcast, the CardCast. The CardCast is the first student-run and operated online serial broadcast in the state of Kentucky. This special show takes a look not only at the work of SGA, but it provides an unparalleled opportunity for students to give their input and opinions in their own words about the issues facing the student body. To make sure that the work of SGA and student body is readily recognized by the university administration, we launched SGA's first print publication, the Executive Report. The Exec Report is a bi-weekly print publication that offers a direct look into the work of the executive branch, as well as the issues pertinent to the student body each week. This publication is sent to all university administrators, board of trustees, and various organizations, including all Greek organizations around campus. But we realized that we simply could not continue to work without first knowing what the student body felt about the work that we were already doing. To gather this information, we launched a performance survey that helped us to accumulate more feedback than any other administration before us. Not all of the responses were positive, but each piece of input provided greater understanding of where we were as an organization and where we needed to go from there. Still, all of these initiatives do not allow for on-the-spot communication. To compensate for this, we have utilized SGA campus-wide email, Facebook, and Twitter. However, we did not stop with simply setting up a Facebook page. We have worked to ensure that we have provided the most amount of relevant content possible to the students. Getting the input is not enough. It must be put to use. My administration has worked hard to ensure that student input is the catalyst behind the goals and initiatives we have undertaken. Every consideration has been taken into account to ensure that these initiatives benefit students to the greatest degree while costing them to the least degree. It was with this in mind that we have undertaken initiatives such as hosting the first ever RSO Summit, revamping the Study Abroad website, revamping the grading scale so that an A+ rewards the student appropriately, and setting up UofL's own Craigslist, where students can reduce their book costs. All of these initiatives cost the students nothing up front, but each works to improve an area of student life. And it is that mentality and focus that I carried into each meeting with the University Board of Trustees. As a trustee, I have worked to make sure that the student voice is heard at the highest level. And I have been extremely pleased with the willingness of the board to listen to student concerns. I can honestly say that this university and its leaders truly care about the students and work intensely to ensure them with the greatest educational experience possible. Still, this task cannot be left solely to the university administration. We exist to further this mission. As I have already stated, student input is the key to everything we do. SGA exists as the voice of the students, but we can hardly hope to do that by effectively without taking time to listen to students. It was the realization of this fact that led us to begin the communication initiatives we discussed earlier. It would be easy for someone in my position to put their own interest ahead of the student interest. Thus, it is essential to hold ourselves accountable and to let the students hold us accountable so that this organization will continue to adamantly seek student input as my administration has done. On some issues, however, student input is not the only thing that must be taken into consideration. In my time as a trustee and your student body president, I've learned that often what is best for students may not be very appealing on the surface. Tuition is one of those things. Unfortunately for students, tuition will continue to rise as our nation struggles through these tough economic times. While I passionately advocate for the affordability of education, I must also keep in mind what is necessary to preserve this university. At times, this may mean voting in favor of a tuition increase, but I have continued to stand strong that I will only do so if that increase produces tangible benefits for the students that it affects. These benefits should take form of the creation of more scholarships and opportunities such as community leadership, professional internships, and education abroad. Still, tuition is not the only difficult issue facing the student body. Early this year, a student named Robbie Troller approached our administration with a petition which raised student concern about the controversial and current meal plan. As a result of Robbie's tenacity on this issue, our service as vice president and other members of the exec team went to work to advocate for change. Because of a 10-year contract with Sodexo, the meal plan is here to stay. While we may not be able to do away with the commuter meal plan, we can advocate for more options and more benefits for the student dollar. This is exactly what my administration has done, and we have been pleased with the progress made on this issue. When thinking about how to approach issues such as these, I am reminded of a quote from a supporter of the American Revolution, Edmund Burke. He said, "A representative owes the people not only his industry, but his judgment, and he betrays them if he sacrifices it to their opinion." In the same way, there have often been times through my presidency in which I have had to vote or advocate to the best of my judgment. I have tirelessly advocated for what I believe is right for the student body. So when speaking on the state of the student body, I am compelled to say that it is strong. It is strong because of the diversity of the students that make it up. It is strong because of the university administrators who truly care for students. And it is strong because of those individuals and candidates who, like us, are willing to sacrifice themselves for the betterment of the student body and this university. Now, tonight, while we gather here to discuss the current state of the student body, we must continue to look forward. Tomorrow marks the beginning of voting in the SGA elections. This election is filled with exemplary student leaders who are putting their names on the line in the hope of earning the right to serve the student body. It is crucial that each of you not only vote yourself, but encourage your friends, your roommates, even your enemies to go out there and vote in the coming days. It is crucial that the student body weigh in on the topic of who will represent them best. Alongside the beginning of the voting period, tomorrow is also the day of a tremendous event. Tomorrow, students will board a bus bound for Frankfurt. These students will stand in the state capitol next to others from across the Commonwealth. They will speak personally to their representatives, and they will publicly demonstrate that college students are important citizens of the state, and accordingly, higher education should remain at the forefront of the legislators' attention. There is no higher calling for the members of this organization than to advocate for higher education on a state and national level. So please, if you have not already committed to attending this event, I strongly encourage you to do so tonight. However, looking forward means looking past tomorrow and into the coming years. We must change we must charge the future SGA administrators to continue to hold student input as the catalyst for their goals and initiatives. My administration has laid a significant foundation in this area, a foundation that must be preserved. Initiatives like the exec report and video broadcasts like the CardCast are important tools that garner student attention and student input. While the methods may change over time, I strongly encourage the future administrations of SGA to learn from our successes and build upon areas in which communication is still lacking. We must continue to hold the various branches of SGA accountable for the work they are charged with. Often the executive branch is wrongly perceived to be SGA, but as we all know, there are 3 separate branches. These branches exist to be checks and balances against the others. Unfortunately, the system does not always work the way it was intended due to the individuality and self-contained nature of the branches. As an example of this is the remuneration policy that my administration tried to put through the Senate only to have it voted down. Our focuses are often different, but our overall goal remains the same: to represent the voice of the student body to the best of our ability. This sense of individuality must continue to preserve the integrity of the system, but to do so, each branch must be held accountable to their tasks, and likewise, each branch must take initiative to address the issues of their constituents. The Senate must continue to pass legislation which provides for student needs, and the court must continue to apply sound jurisprudence to the cases they hear. But the need for accountability does not end with the branches. Finally, and most importantly, we as SGA members must hold ourselves accountable to the work we have been charged with. We are fortunate and blessed to have the opportunity to serve the student body, and it is imperative that we hold this task at the forefront of our attention. We must live up to the expectations of our constituents, and we must continue to strive for excellence as an organization. We must continue to hold the student voice in its rightful place as power behind our work. If the input of the Robbie Trollers and Spencer Scruggs of this university were not taken into consideration, the works of SGA would be worthless. Again, let me thank each of you for coming tonight and for continuing to take special interest in the student body. In conclusion, let me assure you that the state of the student body is strong. It is strong today, and I have every faith that it will retain this strength in the days and years to come. Thank you.